The Transportation Department on Tuesday files a plunder complaint before the Office of the Ombudsman against half of former President Benigno Aquino's cabinet over the alleged anomalous contracts for the MRT-3. Included in the complaint by Transportation Undersecretary Rainier Riebra are former Transportation Secretary June Abaya, former Interior Secretary Mar Rojas, former Budget Secretary Butch Abad, former Finance Secretary Cesar Purisima, former Energy Secretary Jericho Petilla, former Science and Technology Secretary Mario Montejo, former Defense Secretary Voltaire Gazmin, former Public Works Secretary Rogelio Singson, and former Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Arsenio Balisacan. Former transportation officials and former MRT maintenance provider Busan Universal Rail Incorporated or BURI are also included in the plunder complaint. This is a supplementary complaint to the graft complaint filed in October against Abaya and the same officials over the creation of special purpose company BURI to implement the maintenance contract of the MRT. The first complaint details the circumstances which led to the awarding of a 3.8 billion peso contract to Korean firm Busan Transportation Corporation in 2015. BURI was eventually created and it took over the contract with only a 4% share left to original company Busan. BURI's contract has since been terminated. The DOTR in its complaint says, quote, Rojas and Abaya set into motion a grand scheme of turning the DOTC into a bottomless cash cow, entering into one anomalous procurement project after the other in order to amass, accumulate, and acquire ill-gotten wealth. It adds former MRT maintenance provider Sumitomo was eased out and replaced with dummy corporations run by well-known Liberal Party stalwarts. The DOTR also accuses Rojas of sitting on Sumitomo's requests to extend its contract. Supreme Court Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio questions Free Legal Assistance Group lawyer Chel Diokno on what the police means by neutralizing suspects. Carpio, during the oral arguments on the Philippine National Police's guidelines on the war on drugs, asks Diokno if the term neutralize means to arrest or to kill. Diokno says the definition of the term was not explicit. He says other pronouncements of National Police Chief Ronald De La Rosa and President Rodrigo Duterte encouraging cops to kill drug suspects in effect empowered the police to kill. Carpio says De La Rosa was quoted as saying neutralized means they should surrender, be arrested, or be killed during drug operations. He says, quote, so it doesn't only mean killed. It's a general term and it has been used even during the previous administration. But Diokno says the term could easily be construed to include the authority to kill. Diokno says, quote, if the chief of the PNP simply meant to arrest and prosecute, then he should have just used those terms. Right after the PNP was pulled out from the Duterte administration's war on drugs, the government initiative Real Numbers PH counted 77,468 operations, which killed 3,967 and arrested 117,044 drug personalities as of October 25, 2017. Malacanang on Tuesday distances itself from a complaint it presented the day before as one of the reasons that led to the firing of former Dangerous Drugs Board Chief Dionisio Santiago. The letter, which alleged Santiago brought his mistress to extravagant junkets abroad and accepted a mansion from a suspected narco-politician, supposedly came from the DDP Employees Union. But the GMA News report says the group's president denied his organization sent this letter. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says, quote, we have never alleged they are gospel truth. Roque sent a copy of the letter to reporters Monday. He also says he clearly stated the complaint was not one of the reasons for Santiago's exit, but Roque said otherwise.
I would like to confirm that General Santiago was let go by the President, not only because of his statements on the mega rehab centers being a mistake. He was also let go because of complaints that General Santiago was using taxpayers' money for junkets abroad.
Asked if the Office of the President verified the letter, Roque says the verification process has been overtaken by Santiago's resignation. Vice President Leni Robredo's camp accuses former Senator Bongbong Marcos of misleading the Supreme Court sitting as the Presidential Electoral Tribunal by including unregistered voters in his list of proposed witnesses for the electoral protest. Robredo's lawyers Romulo Macalintal and Bernadette Sardillo tell the PET some of Marcos's proposed witnesses of alleged electoral fraud in Lanao del Sur, Maguindanao, and Basilan were not registered in the precincts specified in his list. Marcos filed an electoral protest against Robredo for alleged cheating in the 2016 polls. He wants the PET to allow a ballot recount in 36,465 clustered precincts, his second cause of action. Marcos also wants the votes nullified in 3 provinces in the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao, his third cause of action. The PET earlier instructed Marcos to submit his list of proposed witnesses, but he waived presenting witnesses, saying the ballot recount would best prove there was electoral fraud in the clustered precincts. As for the 3 ARMM provinces, Marcos gave the PET 8,000 names of proposed witnesses. The Robredo camp says it discovered several of these names were not registered during the 2016 polls upon checking the Commission on Elections certified list of registered voters. United States President Donald Trump says North Korea is a state sponsor of terrorism. Trump vows a rapid ramp-up of U.S. Treasury sanctions against Pyongyang after adding it to a terror blacklist previously led by Iran and Syria. He says his declaration would kick off a 2-week period of announcements that would eventually amount to a maximum pressure campaign. But U.S. State Secretary Rex Tillerson says Washington has not given up hope that sanctions and diplomacy can pressure Kim into agreeing to sit down and discuss his nuclear disarmament. Tillerson says punitive measures are already having a significant effect on Pyongyang's economy, adding the U.S. is still hoping for diplomacy.